Welcome to From Root to Crown with Rebe, the podcast where we explore the depths of self-understanding and the mysteries of the universe. I'm Rebe Goebel, your guide on this transformative journey. In this episode, we're going to be focusing on an overview of what's to come in season 3, as well as a little bit of a business and life update for me, just to make this episode a little bit shorter. We will dive into the meat and potatoes of the podcast starting in the next episode. Okay. In theory, this should be a short, concise episode. Why? Because I have recorded it not once, but 2 times before this. And Mercury retrograde jumped all over me, and I recorded both of those episodes despite doing a test recording. Beautiful video, 0 audio, which is a problem for a podcast. So let's see if I can bust through this and make this even more succinct than I normally am, because you know me, if you have listened to the podcast before, your girl likes words, written or spoken. Let's dive into what's coming up in season 3. Actually, first, let's send up a quick prayer to the internet gods and the technology gods, our Lord Mercury. And hopefully this episode will save, and I will be able to publish it just a couple of days late. Okay. Now that that's out of the way, season 3, what are we going to be talking about? I'm really excited to bring these topics to you. I will dive into a couple of the things here in just a minute as I get into the business and life update that is going to feature into a couple of episodes on this season. We are, of course, going to have some free meditation and breathwork sessions for you to sink into. In addition, we are going to have a couple of really aligned, beautiful interviews with some people that I know and love, including my fabulous friend Molly, who is an amazing somatic healer and sex educator. So we're going to be talking about pleasure and spirituality and the intersection of those 2 topics. We're also going to be talking about shielding your energy and protecting that right now in our current political climate. It's necessary. So I'm going to give you some rituals, some practices that I do routinely to protect my energy as someone who is deeply attuned to my own energy and the energy of the environment around me. So I have to shield my energy pretty regularly, and I do it quickly. Some of the other topics that we're going to be covering is crystals for spring and how to connect with your intuition. This episode will be based off of a juicy workshop that I've done coming up on 3 times here locally. So bringing it to the interwebs and you guys on a guided meditation for you to really tap into your intuition. Then we're going to be talking about healing generational trauma and moving through time in our healing practices, in our meditations, and how we can actually go back in time to heal something, go forward in time to plant an idea, plant some energy, those types of things. I know it sounds super woo, bear with me. And then the last 2 big topics that we're going to discuss are going to make a lot more sense after I share these kind of 2 updates. So I'm just going to dive right into that. On the business side, I need to take you back in time a little bit and give you some context of both my career overall and a little bit about my family. So I started out after college as an officer in the United States Air Force, and I had a very corporate role actually within the military in that I negotiated supply contracts. And that transitioned really beautifully once I left the military, and I continued to negotiate multi-million-dollar deals for some of the country's largest companies. And I was good at it. On a personal note, it was pretty soul-sucking. I didn't enjoy the haggling piece, but I was proficient. And these experiences gave me a lot of leadership, communication, and negotiation skills. Fast forward to the moment when we were about to have my oldest son go into public school. So he was going into first grade. And we knew coming into this situation that he had some special needs. I'm not going to dive deep into what they are because that is his story to tell. Suffice it to say, we felt like we needed some supports for him within the general education setting. And anybody who's out there who has a child with ADHD or autism or even type 1 diabetes knows that there are two mechanisms to get any sort of specialized accommodations within the education setting. And it's a 504 plan or an IEP plan. Long story medium here. The school denied my request to have my son evaluated so that he could access those special accommodations. And what I realized, thanks to a beautiful friend of mine who was a special educator in a different state, I realized that the school was calling my bluff. I had Googled a letter and sent it over, and they denied my request. They had really no grounds to deny my request besides the fact that that was their standard response. It's not supposed to be, but that's what it was. Now, anybody who knows me knows that the minute you tell me no, and I know that it's not right, I'm going to dig in, especially if I don't understand the system, if I don't understand what's going on. So, thus began my deep dive into the world of special education and advocating for my son. Because of the tools that I had in my career, along with my husband's career, he has a very special set of tools as well. He is in internal audit and was also an officer in the Air Force. We were able to do what we needed to do, but it was obvious that this was only because of our persistence and our privilege. Our privilege in looking exactly like the teachers and administrators that were in the room, the privilege of our education, the privilege of having jobs where we could take time off without suffering financially in order to go to multiple meetings at the school, and a host of other privileges, including speaking the same language, etc. And it became obvious that not every family achieves the level of success that we do. And that pissed me off. So we moved halfway through my son's second grade year to St. Louis and had a very different experience getting special education services started here in St. Louis. If you're not from the St. Louis region, what I'm about to say doesn't make any sense. Here, instead of our special education services coming through our school districts, they're in the county, in St. Louis County, we have an umbrella district called Special School District that serves over 24,000 students who receive some sort of special education services or technical education. I became very involved in the Parent Advisory Council for this and ended up serving as the president for 3 school years over the course of the outbreak of the pandemic. During this time, I realized that I had to find a way to distill the information in my noggin to a wider audience, and I started writing a book. Because again, your girl likes words. I'm a writer at heart, a communicator for sure. And I started to write this book. And I was at like an 85% done point when the pandemic hit. And I didn't know what education was going to look like on the backside. And if you're trying to figure out what the hell special education has anything to do with From Root to Crown and the spiritual journey that I've been on, stick with me. I'm getting to the point. So I shelved this book because I did not know what it was going to look like. And it was just too much for it to be my volunteer position in a very fraught time in education, where, quite frankly, I received a lot of abuse from other parents who didn't realize I was also just a volunteer and a parent dealing with my own kids who were now home full time and not receiving their special education services, because yes, both of my children receive special education services. And so I had to totally step away from it and just move into survival mode like so many of us did 5 years ago. Fall of 2020, I decided to start my crystal business. I needed to do something that was just fun and brought me joy. And through that process, discovered Reiki, discovered all of these other modalities that I use now and are an integral part of my life and my toolkit. Over the last 4 years, it has been niggling at me that I spent 2 years of my life writing this amazing book, and it's just sitting in a file on my computer. And now that we know kind of what education is going to look like, or does look like, I realize that that's a loaded statement because, again, with the current political climate, we don't exactly know, but I'm not going to let that stop me from getting this book out there. I was feeling like it was a curveball, though, like it was disconnected from the work that I'm doing with clients and, around all these spiritual themes with my coaching and the breath work and Reiki work that I do. What I have come to see, though, is that the book just needs to become version probably 3 or 4.0 at this point. And it needs to have all of these energetic tools woven into it. It's more than just how to work with the school or your child's medical team. It's how do you get yourself into alignment and step into that role as the energetic leader of your child's team and of your family, and most importantly, of yourself. As I go into any of my child's IEP sessions, I use these tools of visualization, manifestation, meditation, my energy work, so that my energy is clear and grounded and steady when I walk into that school. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, they match my energy. It's collaborative. It's a good conversation. And we achieve the goals that I had set out for the team because I have assumed control. I have assumed leadership of that team. Because if you have kids who have needs, you have to realize that you have to take that role, even if they don't want to give it to you, because you are the only one that is consistent side by side with your child during this entire process. So it's a merging and a blending of these two worlds that I'm so passionate about. And I can't wait to bring more nuanced discussions. And if nothing else, even if you don't have children with special needs, fear not. This is not going to become a special education podcast. It's not going to become my sole focus. But I feel like it gives a real world example of how I apply these tools, how this isn't just this ethereal theory that is a nice to have and exists inside my mind and my spirit. I use these tools to achieve real goals in the 3D world around me. It's not just in my spirit. It has beautiful, successful applications in the real world. And having sat with and held the hands of so many parents, I can tell you that the only way you will do more than struggle and barely survive is if you take care of yourself. This goes for everybody, but especially in the special needs world. Your child and their needs can consume every molecule of air in your lungs if you let it. And then you aren't there to advocate and support them. So taking time to care for yourself is the opposite of selfish. It's critical. So we're going to talk even more about that, and I will keep you in the loop as the book progresses. I'm hoping to self-publish it by the end of the year. If there are any publishers or agents listening, I would love for you to reach out. I would love for this to actually be traditionally published. But we'll just have to see what sort of opportunities we can manifest for me collectively, because I truly believe that this is a necessary book that needs to get out into the world. So, like I said, I'll keep you informed as it comes. The other big topic that we're going to be exploring has to do with womb healing. And the reason why I bring that up is because 6 weeks ago, I was told that the only solution for a massive amount of pain that I have been experiencing starting about 7-8 months ago, associated with my cycles, but not only when I have my cycle, is that I need to have a hysterectomy. It's nothing that is life-threatening. It's simply, how much pain can you tolerate, Rebe? But the thing of it is that I am not convinced that a hysterectomy is actually going to solve my pain. I can't explain why. I just have a knowing. And so I am working with my Reiki master, who has a whole new skill set with some somatic healing and some womb healing, to see if I can heal some generational trauma, close some cycles, and break them, and see if I can make enough of a difference in resolving my pain without having to resort to removing an entire organ. That still plays an important part in this transition as I'm going from my motherhood to my crone years. I have no idea how this is going to weave itself into my teachings and how I show up for clients. But it's how I'm showing up for myself right now. This is the healing work that I am called to do in this season. And so many women our age could benefit from the exact same work that I'm doing right now. So we're going to talk about it. I am beyond excited to share my personal journey and my professional journey with you through this medium. Our next episode is going to be all about shielding your energy in these unprecedented times. And hopefully everything will go fine with publishing that, because we have sent our love to Mercury and the internet gods, and hopefully all will be well with this third recording. Third time's a charm. Thank you so much for continuing to listen, or if you're a brand new listener, welcome. I had no idea when I started this a year ago how much I was going to love it. And I don't know that I'll ever know the impact, but just doing it is enough for me. So technical difficulties aside, I truly do enjoy showing up and curating these topics and sharing the wisdom that is coming through as I work with clients and as I do my own work. Again, thank you for joining me on this episode of From Root to Crown. I hope today's life update doesn't leave you feeling confused and that you see the benefit and the need for a slight tightening of perhaps the focus audience for the podcast and the reason why I'm so passionate about the things that we're going to talk about this season. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. I look forward to continuing this journey with you in our next episode. Until then, be gentle with yourself and stay connected to the wisdom within.